Welcome to this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. I am at my favorite gym with one of my favorite people. And for those of you who have listened to the podcast over the years, you will recognize his voice. So when I thought about being interviewed about the course I have out there, I thought, I have to get Josh. We have to get him back on the show, and we don't get to see each other as much as we did when we were in the booth. And he asks really hard questions. So I thought, this is who I want to come in and just discuss what's going on at Vicki Baird Coaching and this course, Introducing You to Your Soul. So everybody, welcome him back. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. It only feels appropriate, right? It feels like we were just starting the podcast, talking together in the booth. Now it's blowing up all around the world and we're back. And you're launching something new and exciting today. It's out.
It's out.
Introducing You to Your Soul course. Tell everyone what it is, what's going on. It's so exciting.
So this course came from obviously decades of the work that I've been doing and really fine-tuning, what do I want people to know? I want everyone to know that you have a soul, and this soul is part of you. It's the magic, and the soul vibrates at the energy of joy. And especially over the last few years, we've had a little bit more pressure than most of us have encountered in our lives. And I'm like, you know what? It's time. I want people to meet themselves, to recognize their brilliance that exists in there, because I truly believe that when we love ourselves, when we find humor in who we are, that we also spread that out into the world.
And that could be one of the hardest things, right?
It's hard to admit that that it's okay to like yourself, never mind love yourself, and that you have this magic within you, because we've been taught it's self-centered, or it's not okay to thrive and to feel good about ourselves. So I think sometimes we do need that permission. That
it's not just a negative ego if you're proud of who you're becoming, or if you're connected with yourself, or if you like or love yourself, right?
Right, because there is that negative connotation of don't be egotistical, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I also know that the ego is our human element. So if we're trying to eliminate the ego, you're never going to make friends with it. You're never going to be in balance. You're always going to be fighting the essence of who you are. So I'm like, I got to get this out there and help people to recognize it is wonderful if you feel good about yourself. And there's a difference between embodying that and inviting the soul in to appreciate who you are, and being a fathead who's just telling everybody, how amazing you are, because let's be honest, that exists in the world in certain personalities. But the majority of us are not going to lean that way. The majority of us are going to be in the deficit of belief in ourselves. So I felt a compelling need to bring this out now and be like, okay, listen, I know about the soul.
Right.
I can help you connect with your soul.
Right.
Here's the course.
To learn from. Right. Here's how you do it.
Here's how you do it.
There is something to that old, we've heard a million times, you can't like or love or even appreciate someone else unless you feel those things for yourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So just being able to connect and understand what your soul is and how you connect to that would open up everything else for your world and your life, right?
It does.
It connects to every single avenue of your life without you even maybe realizing it.
And so many people follow the law of attraction, and they talk, what you put out there, you get back. But if you can't put it out there, at least in an honest way, like you can put it out there in a falsehood, you can put it out there in a way where you're basically BSing yourself. And what I ask people to do, not only in my coaching practice, but in my classes, is, can we be honest? Like, let's just be honest and have some humor around the aspects of who we are. And what I know to be true is the soul inherently believes in us, almost to the point where it wants us to do things where the human part of us goes, are you freaking kidding me?
Your mind can't catch up to what your soul wants you to do, right?
And the soul's like, no problem, we got this.
Easy.
And then the human element is like, but excuse me, there's still like bills to pay and relationships to be in. So in developing this course, which actually came out of working with people one-on-one, where some of the best material comes from, I think, is that connection, is having them and having you and having myself really relax around the idea of, oh, this is the wiring that I have.
Right.
Let me get to know it.
Yeah.
Like, let's take some of the fear out of it.
Do you think there is like a negative connotation even with the word soul, or like the word spirit would be related to that? Like, do you feel like there's this outlook towards it already, that people have this strange feeling saying the word or acknowledging it, let alone like connecting to theirs?
There is, either through teaching, but I also believe that...
They've got their own teacher.
Yeah, there you go.
VickiBaird.com. Find the right teacher.
There you go. See, this is why we have them. I also believe that there's this aspect of us that, call it the humbleness or something that's within us that doesn't feel comfortable in tooting our own horn. So I think the outward message of don't do that somehow resonates a little bit with don't be too big on yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a balance that can be created of you can believe in yourself and walk in that strength and share it with others without taking over. And the negative connotation that's been there, often people are told that's only for their deity. Like, that's only for something that's unattainable.
Right.
And
Outside from themselves.
Outside, and to keep us small. And I just think that that's a travesty, actually.
A lot of people think they have to be small,
Yeah.
or that they have to be small in order to make someone else big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like bad relationships and stuff come with, even friendships or work.
Yeah.
If you're focused on lifting everyone else up, but you realize you're down in some dark hole, how can you actually help anyone else around you?
Right.
Or connect to that.
Yeah.
What I love about this course that's available today, which is so exciting, is it's so simple in the way it's laid out, so user friendly. It's like taking any other course online. There's, with the mix of videos and reading everything and homework assignments, it makes it so accessible to everyone, I guess is the word. It makes it, you just go through it, tells you how to do it, what to do, so you don't have to think about like accessing the information or how you get through it. You can focus on the actual work that you want to help people with. Do you feel like if there's one thing you could help people with, or maybe one thing they walked away with knowing or learning from this course, is there one thing, if you could pick any, that would stand out?
Yeah, it would be the concept of having this information. It's already in you. The only thing I'm doing is leading people back to themselves, like to that place you came in with when you had no teeth and you were naked. Like, you came in with that information.
Some
So
people are still in that state.
some people are, and it's so adorable. I just got to play with an 8-month-old for a couple hours at a party, and I was like, oh yeah, you adults, no, whatever.
There's some adults in that state.
Give me the babies. Yeah. There are. Yeah.
Naked and toothless. It's okay. We all have souls, right?
Yeah,
they
we
can
do.
go to VickiBaird.com and sign up as well, right?
They can, and that's what I tried to make this. Well, I didn't try. I did make this accessible to. That's why it's called introducing you to your soul. If you jump too far into the pit, which I admittedly can do, I will talk at a level that I already understand and I forget, oh, hang on, I've learned this along the way too. Right. So the accessibility is really important to me. And I didn't want to put more on people's plates.
Right.
Like,
you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, obviously, if you're choosing to do this, you're ready. If you hear this and you're like, what? Like, there's a part of your soul going, excuse me, hello, pardon me.
Right.
Could we learn how to do that so that I can stop working so hard to bring you the messages from outside yourself, and you can have that direct channel? So the availability of the information, but also the ease of the information.
Yeah.
It's deep work. This is not surface work. But in what I think is one of the gifts of my style is that the humor is there and the joy is there to be able to say, you didn't get it? That's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
it shouldn't be easy, right? Like, if something was really easy to do, then just everyone in the world would just get it and know it. And it'd be, it should take work to tap into something that important in yourself and to learn about that.
Well, yeah, and our soul comes around every lifetime. It's the eternal part of us. So, yeah, so the human element is learning in each lifetime because, you get a new system. And if you can hear in the background, somebody's doing slam balls. And I find this ironic because it's one of my favorite favorite activities in the gym is to take that slam ball and just slam it down.
A stress reliever, right?
I love it. Sometimes I picture people's faces on it, to be honest, just to bust up the energy. But that's an equivalent, I think, to doing the spirit work. Yeah. Is like you're a phenomenal trainer, but no matter who you work with, they have to do the physical work.
Yeah, you can't do the work for them.
Or they're not going to get the muscle tone or the healed back. Or
and it's not easy, right? It takes hard work, just like anything should. Right?
I'll let you know right after this one. When I go into
Once she's done training, then she'll report back. We'll update. So, what are you most proud of in creating this course? Not even in like the words that are on there and the things that people are going to take away, but like you've poured so much of what you do into this, and this is like the first taste. This is introducing you to your soul, which is just going to lead into there's no finite point if we've learned everything, right? Because then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't keep coming back, right? So there's only going to be more to learn. But in all the work you've put into just this introduction, what have you realized you're proud of in yourself and in the work that you're doing and have done for this? Because there's a lot to be proud of, obviously, but sometimes it's hard to step back and realize, like, yeah, I'm doing a good job with this part. That's, you're going to teach someone something good there.
What I'm most proud of is the fact that I'm actually putting it out there, because I have believed this, I've known it, I've worked one-on-one with people, I see the miraculous change that happens when they meet it, when they do it, and yet I wasn't stepping up to say, listen, I am your soul coach. Yeah. Like, if you want to learn how to be centered, and if you want to feel whole within yourself, it cannot exist without acknowledging the soul aspect of it. So when we integrate the soul and the human part of this work was me sitting down and asking my soul, okay, what are you here for? Right. Like, enough. Like, enough hiding behind the intuitive abilities and the ability to talk to the dead people and all that kind of stuff. Like, what are you really here for? And
it's like soul purpose, right? Which you talk about in this course.
Yeah. Like that connection, that what lights you up. And when I talk about this, you can hear it in my voice. You can feel the energy if I just get excited. Yeah. And I get excited that other people are going to learn this.
Exactly, right.
Like, it's exciting for me to teach it and to offer this, but I get so gleeful when somebody's like, Vicki, I think I felt my soul. Yeah. Because if they say that, I know they did.
Right. And they're just kind of like either unsure or scared of or whatever. Yeah.
Is it new? Yeah. Is it both that challenging and that easy?
Right.
Because it is. A lot of this is
once
allowing.
You let everything else go.
Yeah.
And allow yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of kind of a soul purpose or something, I have a question, because this is all kind of about your soul purpose and connection to your soul, right? Can you have more than one soul purpose? Or if you have multiple, are those not your true soul purpose? Well,
the fascinating thing that I know about soul purpose is we all have the same one. We are all here. Every being that's walking around sucking oxygen is here. All sentient beings are here to learn self-acceptance. Every one of us. Now, we all have different paths to that. Right. Because we have previous lives and we have soul intention. See, what got mixed up in the teaching is if you don't have a purpose, you have no value, right? If you don't know your purpose, well, I guess you suck. And I'm like, that's so wrong. Because if everybody's here for self-acceptance, cool, you know your purpose. Right. But try to get there. Right. Because it's tricky. Right. Because the acceptance of others, yeah, we can do that.
Easier to do than to accept yourself.
So I would rather that people ask, well, okay, if that's my purpose over there, because a goal is a wonderful thing. Right. If that's my soul's purpose, what am I here to learn?
Right.
So we all come with a blueprint. And before we come in, we agree. Nobody's assigning this. Right. We agree, like, what do you want to learn? And how do you want to learn it? And from that, you get these varying degrees. That's why I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe that there's something we're supposed to do. That's pressure. However, you have an internal knowing, a drive that's like a magnet drawing you to that self-acceptance.
It's like a map. And like you might know where you're supposed to end up, but there's obviously like 57 like different routes
Yeah.
and places you can get to it.
It's like when GPS suggests you can go this
you
route,
can go three different ways, right?
but you might have to pay a toll.
Right.
And this part, the traffic's heavy.
Yeah.
Like we all have that within us. So I would actually like people to let go of the idea that there's some soul purpose that they can't find because you're actually looking for you, and you've been there all along.
Right.
But you're looking outside yourself because you're looking to what will my purpose provide.
Right.
And your
what am I going to get out of this? What happens when I accept myself or find my purpose?
And how do I serve everyone else? Which, wonderful. I do believe that we are all here to be of service, but not in service. And and that's tricky because you have to fight the messages of, well, that's selfish.
Right.
It is. But selfish means to take care of ourselves.
Which is another word that seems to have a negative connotation, right?
It does. And I think it's just a misinformation because there's again, I think an innate goodness in all of us when some's just gone a little awry. What you don't want to be is self-centered.
Right.
But if you're taking care of self, you're more inclined to want to help others.
Right.
And that means something different to each of us.
Did you know that most people work with me as a coach because they want to move forward in their professional lives? And then they realize once we start working together that it's a whole person approach, and I am going to help them move through their blocks, their fears, some of the trauma they've experienced, and to create a much more aligned life. So many times I hear, this is not what I thought I was signing up for, and that's such wonderful feedback to have, because if you're signing up and working with a coach and everybody does it the same, are you really being seen as an individual? At Vicki Baird Coaching, I do it all as an individual, and I would love to work with you. Go to vickibaird.com to check it out and see if you'd like to work with me.
The sole purpose thing is BS. It probably meant to sell other courses. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or to keep people in line and to keep them minimized.
Yeah.
Because what if your sole purpose, what if your connection to self and self-acceptance was to be able to say, I don't want to follow the family path.
Right.
I want to listen to my heart and go work in an owl sanctuary. I don't know.
So what would you be most excited about that someone can take away? What can they look forward to after this? Like, what is this the first step of? If we can learn to even connect with our soul, if we make that introduction, you come out, anyone you have the information, you have everything there. It couldn't be lined up more user-friendly, more accessible in black and white ink, right? If anyone takes that in and can learn it and take it in right, what's the next step? Once they meet their soul, once they can connect to that, what to from there? Where do they go from then?
Well, there would be a space of integration. I know from a marketing standpoint, I'm supposed to say, well, then you take the second course.
Which they all will.
Which you will, and then third, and
first.
there's actually 4 in the lineup. But what I would want in taking this course is for actually people to revisit it a few times, because the first time you go through, and it drips to you one lesson a week, and that's purposeful, because you can't move on to the next one until you've completed the first one. So there's a little bit.
You can't just skip ahead and pretend you've done the work and then
you can't
be disappointed when you didn't learn anything.
You can't. And when I beta tested this,
work.
people actually asked for that, and I'm like, I was so proud of myself, because I'm like, no, you can't.
Good.
Because you can't skip lifetimes either. So I feel like this is just putting the information in. What I would want them to do is to integrate the work into their daily life. And a lot of the teaching in this is that. Because I'm not looking to have people connect with their soul and be disconnected from the now and from where they are. It's actually the opposite. I want people to bring that soul into everything they do, so they are more grounded. There's less anxiety. There's less stress. So I would want it to be practiced.
Right.
I would want there to be little reminders when you feel like you're drifting away from that connectiveness. And then the subsequent courses will be literal experiences of how to take it a little bit further, maybe to channel direct information from your soul, because connecting it up first, it's kind of like when Tinkerbell helped Peter Pan sew his little shadow on his little feet, and we all went, oh, his shadow came back. Like, it's that connection that we're actually, I think, we're craving.
Right.
And there's even a grieving because somewhere it probably did get put away.
Right.
So I would want this to become something that's so inherent within a being that it's no longer something you have to take a course for.
It just becomes part of you, part of your life and your mindset going forward.
And that's, I mean, honestly, a lot of people ask me, how do they get to see the world the way I see it? And it's like, oh, I did this work.
Right. Today's not day one. I've been doing this for a long time.
I didn't
put
just
in the work, put in the hours.
Spit this out because I saw some kind of...
Read an Instagram meme.
Right, right. Which can trigger sometimes a good outcome, but this is stuff that...
You do the work to understand.
Ooh. And I appreciate that. And I think in knowing that I bring the patience and also a little bit of both the reverence and the irreverence.
Yeah.
You know, so this is stuff that once you get it and you practice it, becomes a kind of a manifesto for your life, but life becomes easier. You're less distracted and less, even like the way it looks in my third eye is always like people are pixelated.
Yeah.
Like they're just separated, and I'm like, come here, let's just bring all this back together into a form. So when somebody embodies their whole self, you can feel it, you know it, and I just want everybody walking around with that.
Yeah, and this is a good starting point. Like, obviously, this is an introduction. This is introducing you to your soul. So there's no prerequisite. There's no one that wouldn't benefit from this. You do one-on-one coaching. Obviously, you have clients that you see personal, whether it's in Zoom, whatever it is, but it's not only accessible for those. You can know nothing about any of this and still come in, whatever country you're in, whatever experience you have, and use this as your jump-off starting point, right? It doesn't matter what experience you have or knowledge of anything spiritual or intuitive to begin this.
Absolutely. And part of working through this material was to make it so plain.
Right. Accessible for everyone.
Accessible, understandable, using the language that we talk about in everyday life, right? Because that's what it is.
Or else it's too hard to understand, and then you're not going to get anything from it.
Yeah, and this is not, a PhD course.
Yeah.
Anybody who's taken the course or interested in it, you're already doing this work.
Right.
You just don't know you're doing it. So this is like, can I help you with that? Can I save you the 2 decades it took me to get here?
Right.
Like, could I do that for you? Here you go. And then there'll be a community around this where we'll have live Q&As where people can say, awesome. Okay, Vic, but what about this? And what the heck are you talking about here? Right. And the process, one of the sweetest messages I got from the group that I tested this with was, I thought this was going to be fluff, but this was actually really deep, and I enjoyed meeting parts of myself, and I was like blubbering.
It's like the best review you can get. Right?
I'm blubbering on the other end, like, yes, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of people listening to this, obviously, that it's going to click for, that they're going to feel a pull towards. There might even be the reason they found this episode of this podcast today is because they're supposed to be introduced to this course. So they've taken the step to listening. They haven't paused this yet or turned off or gone to a different episode, right?
Thank you, guys.
For sticking with us. So they've made it this far. So now what? How do they find us? Where can we sign up? How do we get started?
Everything can be found at vickibaird.com. It's the easiest, but I also have a brand new app where the course is available, and I'll be announcing that. Admittedly, at this moment, it doesn't have a name. But that was also a part of creating a community support for people. Yeah. So vickibaird.com. The links will be all over social media, at the website.
To this podcast, right? They probably don't even have to leave the.
You're right. The links in the podcast.
Click right there, sign up. Today's the day to start. There's a reason you're listening to this, right?
Yes. And whenever you're listening to this, because sometimes people find the podcast later on.
Right.
And, I'll get emails.
This could be 2 years from now.
Yeah.
This is not going anywhere. This
It's
is
not.
just, by then, there might be 4 courses, and you can just keep going back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And other stuff. So you mentioned an app. That's what I want to ask you about. It's 2022. If anyone's listening to this, it's the start of the new year. What can we expect? What's exciting to you? What's in store? What's going on this year?
All of that. The app is my intention to be in one place while being in all places.
The hub.
It's the hub. It's the, what do you call it?
The center of the Vickiverse.
Vickiverse. So the Vicki universe. Years ago, a couple of clients, and they've been on me for years, have asked for Vicki to go. They're like, can I just have you in my pocket? And I'm like, well, a little big to fit in your pocket. And,
And now they can.
And admittedly, technology and time frame. So the app, I'm so excited because it has the community. Like, you don't have to fight through the other social medias to find me. I am the one that comments. I don't hire someone to do the comments.
They are getting you. When there's a comment on your question from Vicki, it is actually from Vicki.
It is from Vicki, because that is incredibly important to me. That if you want to book an appointment, will you hear from Michelle? Probably. But that frees up my time to be in these things because of that connectivity.
And secretarial stuff like booking an appointment is different from if you're getting an answer where you post it on Facebook or in this new app. That's going to be clearly from you. It's different than saying, yes, your appointment's tomorrow at 2, here's your Zoom link.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That doesn't need to be from you. Right?
No, it doesn't.
And where we need it.
And it's taken me years to get there, to allow for people to help. But within the app are the classes that I've taught in person, and that I've had clients all over the United States and now all over the world who are like, how do I get you in person? And I'm like, you know what? This is how you get me in person.
This is you everywhere at once.
Yeah. And yet able to not pixelate, because that's what it was feeling like to me, is that I was so separated that I wasn't giving my best to anybody. And because I love the business aspect of this stuff, I can get kind of pulled away. So I thought, how can I be in one place where people know to go find me, and that they're going to get an answer back? Because I don't know if people realize this, but when you run a business nowadays, I have 18 ways people can email me or message me.
Right.
And I have to check those every day.
Right.
And sometimes it gets missed.
Right.
So my feeling was to use the benefit of technology to be in one place and to put a little bit of ownership on other people that, well, if you really want me to answer, go to the app.
Right.
Because I will.
And that's the go-to. They don't have to worry about, I emailed her, I'm going to message her on Facebook, I'm going to message the business page, I'm going to send you an Instagram direct message, I'm going to do a contact us page on the website. It's all right there. One easy way, it's all connected, it's a foolproof, everything you have, the center of your Vickiverse.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
It is exciting, and it helps me to feel like I can be integrous in my business. Like I can be there, because there can be a lot of pressure around, oh geez, I got to get back to that email. And it's not that you intend to forget someone, it's just that I have the same 24 hours in a day. So in good business practice, this is what I offer my clients, is this business consulting. Like in good business practice, what are you doing for yourself to become more centered? Which, integrating the soul into the human self is also good business practice, and good business practice is integrating your soul. So because it's reciprocal.
Right.
So I'm excited about that, because I feel like it will open up the opportunity to also hear what people want.
Right.
I also am talking to a publisher, and I have a book that will likely be about the soul, because
unexpected.
It's so exciting.
That's exciting.
It's such a joyful, fun part of us that we're missing. And I feel like a lot of the healing that we want to happen just can't happen if we're only looking at the biological aspects of ourselves.
You're continuing to find all these different ways to branch out, and yet it all comes back to the same thing of helping everyone connect to their soul, which is what this first course is. And all comes back to that, whether they're going to find you in the app, whether they listen to their podcast, whether they get the next 10 books you end up writing, the next talk shows you show up on in 2 years, whatever it is, it all does center back to this one thing that you're trying to help everyone, which is why this Introducing You to Your Soul course is the perfect starting stone, the perfect place for everyone to start. So remind everyone how they can sign up. What's the easiest thing right now? I want to sign up. Where do I go?
VickiBaird.com.
So exciting. And this podcast has taken off all around the world. It's been in top 10 lists. It's gone viral all over, crazier than you could have imagined, or that we could have imagined, or that people could have imagined. And it continues on every week. You bring all this new stuff. Can you tell everyone what they can expect? Do you have anything planned for this year? Podcast is going to keep going on, obviously. What's to look forward to with Intuition, Your First Sense, that we're listening to right now?
I just did a 6-month plan of the subject matter. There's a lot about the soul. There's some very practical parenting. I had some requests to do some podcasts about parenting and how to be intuitive and empathic with our kids, with ourselves. And that was exciting to me because, again, sometimes I don't think of these things. You're in everything. I have some series. There's a soul series coming out. There's a spirit guide series.
Exciting.
YouTube is expanding.
Awesome.
So I am so grateful. I have often joked that imagine if I just promoted this podcast, because it is ranking very high. Right. And, I'm so grateful to you because you actually gave me the kick in the butt to get it going, because you're like, I'll edit it. It'll be fine. Let's just do this.
But look how far it's reached without even having to try to beg people to listen, to promote it, to do it. You have all these countries, all these people accessing it, like blowing up beyond, and you haven't even had to promote it. You're not spending all day, every day trying to figure out how can I put advertising money into this. You have all these things, and even just hearing you mention my YouTube's expanding, and I have a 6-month plan for the podcast. What gets me so excited is because there's so many different branches on this tree, you have this app coming now where you don't have to leave one place to find any of it.
Yeah.
Like, wait, Vicki said she has a book coming. Oh, there's YouTube videos, but it's all right there.
Yeah.
It couldn't make it any more accessible for people to reach everything and go back to the whole purpose of what they're trying to get from you and what they can get. So it's so exciting.
Yeah.
This is going to have a lot of exciting things for people to look forward to.
I'm thrilled. I'm grateful for every person who listens, every person in my life, whether I've met or not. And I know this is because of spirit energy. Like, I know when we are vibrating in our truth and in what's fun for us, because this is so much fun for me.
And it's obvious when people listen. Like, you can tell when people are just reading something in a podcast and here's your information, but we listen to you crack jokes and you get these fun interviews. You're alive in it. It's fun for you. And that's why people listen, because if it wasn't a fun conversation, no one cares what information you're trying to tell me if it's boring. So it's apparent, and you keep bringing that, and it's just the beginning. So we're so excited.
I'm thrilled, and shortly after this one will be the 150th episode.
Amazing.
150. So I invite everybody to check out and get to know their soul. It's a one-time payment, and you own it, like, after you pay.
That's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
So if I buy it today, it's not like I finish it in 4 weeks and then, wait, what was that first chapter? In that module there was this. I can check back in a year.
Yes.
I can read it again in 6 months.
Yes.
Keep learning, keep taking something from it every time.
Because you'll expand. When I was going through the material, I'm like, I said that? And then I paused and I'm like, oh, I need to check in with myself because I'm asking them to do it and I feel off here. Yeah. So it's that part that's exciting to me, to bring it. And thank you so much for asking your questions.
Yeah,
and we'll
great.
have to make a regular Josh series because you can obviously tell I love it.
VickiBaird.com. They have to go right
VickiBaird.com.
now, sign up, take the course. Stay tuned for what's more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Intuition, Your First Sense. As always, please like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. Leave a review and take a minute to share it with a friend. You can find me all across social media at Coach Vicki Baird, and you can book a virtual session with me from wherever you are in the world at VickiBaird.com/booking. That's VickiBaird.com/booking. Thank you again, and see you on the next episode.